I'm going to have a great guest on in a second, and Jason might be joining us later towards the end of it, Jason Cormick. So that'll be a laugh. But we're going to start with a bit of a more somber note. My son is not talking to me, hasn't talked to me for a while, and I know a lot of families are disconnected. And last night it hit me really hard, and I wrote this very quickly, and so I wrote this song last night and put it up, and so we're just going to have a listen to this. This is the beauty of AI. I know a lot of people are frightened of it and hate it, but as a poet, which is what I've been writing poetry since I basically kicked myself out of the womb. This is like having wings attached so that my words can try reach more people. So if you have an older child that you don't see much anymore because they're overseas or they're so busy with their own lives, this song is written to those. It's called Harbor.
There's a harbor in my heart where you used to fix your sails. There was no berthing fee to pay, and there were no documents to sign. You used to just relax before figuring out what you needed to do, for the ocean is vast, yet wherever you went, the currents always lead back to you. Now there's a museum in town full of memories of you. Seems the council here have nothing better to do. They change room by room as the outer you grew. But when you switch off the lights, the inner you still glows. There's a harbor in my heart where you used to fix your sails. There was no berthing fee to pay, and there were no documents to sign. If the storms grow too long, why not set sail for me? Otherwise, at least know that there's a part of you here, alive and so full of fire that I'm wondering if it's you that's powering all of these lights. That I'm wondering if it could be you who is powering all these street lights. There's a harbor in my heart where you can come and fix your sails. There will be no berthing fee to pay, and there will never be any documents to sign.
So I know this is controversial with AI. That's the album. I'm putting up the link here below, and I've already sold my first one to Renee. So I'm stoked. So the album's first sold. The link is there, and so that's all the marketing out of the way. So let's bring in our guest now. Helen Taylor had a radio station. She called me and said, "I want you on the radio station. Wants to do an interview with me." And I was actually thinking, "Oh, that was great. Be on radio." And but then she gets told that no, and not only no to me, but no to her. So she's gone. So she's coming on to our podcast. So let's welcome this ostracized freedom fighter and bring her on to the Fort of Freedom Cafe Lockdown. How you
Thank you.
doing, Helen?
Thank you, Michael. I'm doing really well.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. There's
Mhm.
so go through it. Why did you first want to get into radio?
It was like a natural progression for me, because I didn't realize at the time, but a series of events had taken place for me since 2022 that were kind of preparing me and rolling me through towards it. 2022, I started doing public speaking that I'd never done before. People wanted to know about my journey of living in the private. So I went along to the first talk thinking there'd be about 15 or 20 people, and it was a packed out cafe of 100 people.
Wow.
And yeah. And I didn't think I had much of a story to tell, but everybody wanted to hear it. It was pretty good. So I did talk after talk after talk. 2023, I wrote and published my own book about my life and what I call the programs that we all get caught up in, and how I escaped and finally set myself free. 2024, because of the previous 2 years, I'd seen the mental anguish with all the people that I spoke to. I saw from the book launches and the living in the private talks that everyone was just mentally really having a hard time. So 2024, I brought to Australia a healing modality from Ecuador. He was a fella that I met 16 years ago and had incredible changes happen in my life. So I brought him to Australia to do some classes to help people handle their health. Then 2025, serendipity happened in all sorts of different ways, and I got asked to go on radio, community radio. And that's where it started. I just jumped straight in and did a bit of tech training, sat in and watched a few people doing shows, and I realized that there were so many buttons to push and so many things to sort of juggle. The only way to actually start was to just jump in and start. So I got offered a 1-hour show per week on a Monday. I started to line up a few guests and I started to do that. After a few weeks, I had guests booked out and lined up till December this year. It was just happening organically.
Yeah.
So the radio station let me go from 1-hour shows to 2-hour shows. Yeah. So I was having 2 guests on per week.
Yeah.
And after 3 weeks of getting into that, I got suspended.
So what got you suspended? Who were you interviewing?
Ian Brighthope.
Oh, come on.
Yes, Dr.
I
Ian
love Bright Hope. I'm great mates with him. There's you
Wow.
can't get suspended for him. He's gorgeous.
Absolutely. So it started from there.
Like an apprentice saint.
It started from there. I interviewed him on the 11th of August, and within days after that, I got an email from the president of the committee of the radio station saying, "I need to speak to you urgently." And she had a conversation with me that it was very good. She was very professional, and she said that I needed further training on content of the shows. And
or did she really mean retraining? You need to be retrained, Helen.
I think it was actually programmed. Yeah, I needed to be programmed. Yes. So she was very good. She was very professional. And she said that, I really needed to look at possibly having a disclaimer before all of my shows. And I said, happy to do that. Happy to do that. So if I have to just say, look, we're going to touch on mental health, we're going to touch on vaccine injury, I'm happy to do that. So she said they'd need to do a disclaimer, a bit more training for me on contents of shows and how to handle myself. And I was left
Why?
to my
Why?
own.
What does that mean? What were you doing? Were you going
I
crazy on the
was,
show? Were you flapping your arms around? Because radio, right?
well, actually, it was more because I was agreeing with everything that he said. And as a radio announcer, you're apparently supposed to be unbiased.
Bullshit. I
But the
know you're
thing is,
supposed to, but the courts are supposed to be honest. Teachers are supposed to teach kids how to think, not what to
yes,
think. Our
yes,
politicians are supposed to serve us, not some out. What was supposed to happen only happens when we're speaking free speech. This is where
yep,
we want to be, you
yep.
know? Yeah.
And the thing was that up until that
Okay, Joe.
point, they were happy to have me do a show. I called it Inspired Radio. They gave me an hour show. Nobody said, Helen, what's your show about and what's your content? Nobody asked me. Nobody asked me. And what I'd already learnt about community radio was that you could talk about anything, right? As long as you don't name names, you
Yeah.
know?
Yep.
Yep, that gets into libel and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I was
yeah.
very clear on that. So nobody questioned anything I was doing and gave me carte blanche. So off I went, right? And Ian comes on, Ian talks about vaccines, he talks about COVID, he talked about government overreach. And the one thing that the studio manager actually said to me, the radio manager, I said, what didn't you
That's right,
like about,
Riley.
he said, what didn't
Sorry,
you like?
so 2 secs, because we're live, we're interacting live. These are just the comments. This is a young 18-year-old saying, make free speech free again. Right on,
Yes.
Riley.
Yes, absolutely. I said to the studio, the radio manager, what didn't you particularly like about my that show, that particular show? He said, you said we're at war.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he didn't like, was that Ian talked about we're at war, and I agreed with him. And we said silent war, actually. We said it was a silent war that was going on.
So
So
you mentioned it. That's the trouble. You mentioned the silent war. You should have seen that faulty towers thing. You remember when he had the Germans there and he says, don't mention the war? You ever seen that episode? That's basically, we're actually living that now, Yeah, we're at war, but
yes,
don't mention it. Don't mention it. You don't want to upset
yes.
the people.
But the thing was, right, that was the first day that I did a 2-hour
Go
show.
for it.
So the
Yeah,
second hour, I had another guest on, and the announcer that was coming in after me, after I finished, got into the studio, slammed the front door, banged his things down on the desk in the studio next to me, and made it quite clear that he was upset about something. And my current guest and I looked at each other because we both felt the energy and thought, what's going on here? I didn't realize until I got the email saying we need to speak to you urgently 3 days later that he must have been listening to my show with Ian and he didn't like any of it.
yeah,
But he could have come and spoken to me. Yeah.
yeah,
We're talking
yeah,
about mature 50 and 60-year-old men. There's
yeah.
two of them didn't like my show or my content at all. And both of them couldn't approach me and talk to me.
I'm with Mark here. G'day, Mark. He sounds vaccinated.
I agree, Mark. I agree 100%. I called them 60 plus vaccinated men.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
So I
It's
came
it's
into the radio.
interesting, isn't it? It's just interesting that their truth is crumbling around them. It's just crumbling around them. I mean, they must actually have to put effort into it now to keep it upright. And
They were,
and how they do it is they get rid of you. They can't
yeah,
discuss it with you. They can't debate it with you. They've just got to get you gone, as
they
if
had to
somehow
get rid.
that's going to stop the house of cards collapsing.
because in the first few weeks I had just normal average men and women. Yeah,
Brad, Brad, Brad.
It does, Brad. It does. I had just average men and women coming on and telling their story about what happened during COVID. I had one woman talk about how she was a timid, quiet woman who never thought she'd be at a protest. But what was beautiful was she talked about at that protest that she first went to, some sort of energy happened to her into the crowd. And she said the energy filled her with courage. And she said that energy hasn't gone since, right? It was a beautiful story.
Yeah, I still feel that energy.
Her podcast, because they turned all my radio shows into a podcast on their website, her podcast had 270 hits within a week.
Pretty good.
And she was a nobody, so to speak.
Yeah.
And all of my podcasts started getting lots of numbers and lots of numbers. And Ian comes on and immediately gets 500 plus hits.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's
right?
a superstar.
And all of a sudden, Helen's just this average woman in there being a radio announcer, and she's blowing all of their figures out of the water.
Yeah.
And I was saying to them, I'm so stunned. I've got guests booked out till December. They're just coming out of the woodwork. I've got so many people to talk to. And I thought that would make them happy, because that just meant that there was this, engaging, inspiring radio shows for people to listen to and bring listeners.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder why we can't, because we can do this online. Radio has its own kind of laws, which is really holding it back. Because if you were allowed just to speak like we speak here, man, it'd be going off.
Codes of conduct.
People want to hear these conversations. That's what I do all the time. I interview some famous people, but I love interviewing people that have never been interviewed before, have never been on. You know what I mean? And
yes,
sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but I love it.
So I agree. And that's why I was just getting the average men and women. That's who I thought I was going to get. But then I started getting bigger names like Ian Brighthope. I got Barbara O'Neill. I had Kel Washington. I had Kel Washington lined up, right?
I don't know who that is. I'm sorry.
He's in Power. He's from Canberra, from Canada.
Okay.
From Canada.
Okay.
And he was here for there was a weekend on, a freedom weekend, and he came here to Australia as a speaker. So I had Mike Palmer from Know Your Rights. I had people from the TASA group, right? Terra Australis. I had them coming on as well. So I got pulled up because of Ian Brighthope. They decided they'd put disclaimers in and they'd get some advice and take it from there. And they let me go. They let me keep going. Right. So the problem
Ian wasn't the one that got you taken down.
No.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So that just put a spanner in the works.
Yeah, yeah.
The next week I walked in expecting to be handed a disclaimer, to read out. There was nothing. Nothing. I got nothing. I got no further training. I got no other guidance. So I just put my own disclaimers in before the show just to let people know what the content was going to be about. And I kept on my merry way. The day that I got served the suspension notice, I had a woman on who talked about how she figured out the tetanus shot she had in her 20s had made her infertile. She also talked about the rally that happened up in Canberra when they bought out the big microwave energy.
Oh, the LRADs.
Yep. And she was there, and she talked about her ill health and all the rest of it after that. It was after that show and that day that I got pulled.
Do you know, that's really interesting, because I've interviewed lots of people. I've got them in special files, actually. All these people who are severely injured. I was burnt to a crisp and my lips went black. Like you could hit them. They were just like, it was like having almost like wood lips. You could just hit them like that. And I'd come across people your age and you have black lips. I go, epic. And they go, yeah. But I've interviewed loads of people that They left Canberra after the march, and on the way home, they had to pull over because none of them had the energy to drive. They're all just drained. And some people were sick for months. Some people went on radiation treatment. We know of a man in Kerrang who died. I interviewed him in Canberra, or I took a photo of him. He was like wearing something like you, and he was burnt with blisters all under his top. The theory is, and we have no evidence, but what a lot of experts believe is it wasn't actually the LRADs which we could see because they're sound equipment. It was they had another weapon there that could target us because we've
Right.
met people who were they only this was sunburned and this wasn't, or half their face was sunburned like beetroot and this side
Okay.
wasn't. Or two
Okay.
people who were standing together, one wasn't sunburnt, the other one was burnt to a crisp, and children who had round bits of sunburn on their legs. So, yeah, basically, not allegedly, basically, the police commissioner said there was only 6 to 10,000 at the march, even though we just went through Paul's trial. And Paul's trial, the police who were in charge said there was thousands upon thousands. One of them actually said 1,000,000. So
Mm.
that's the first lie. They also said in Parliament that they didn't use weapons against us, but I'm pretty sure from the evidence we have that they did. And I believe that what we need is a whistleblower. So there's police officers out there who used these sort of weapons on their brothers and sisters, their mothers and their fathers and their children. And if
Yes.
I think at some point one of them will have to come out to clear their conscience
Yeah.
because, you know, how can you live with yourself otherwise? But that they
Well,
were used, yeah.
my guest
There was
that day.
also, just to finish, this is what else we found. There was
Mm.
a small army of those stormtroopers under the old parliament and under the new parliament because they expected us to burn the place down. And yet no cars were burnt, no shops were looted, no windows broken. We even cleaned up Epic after we left because we're
Mhm.
Australian. But they got ready for us. I think they expected us to be violent because they'd been so violent to us. But we turned up with love. And then they used these weapons against us.
Yes.
Allegedly, you know.
And my guest that day said that, she actually found from her research that there were 3 million people there. There were 3 million people.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's always going to be up for conjecture. I'm not even
Yeah.
sure we reached 1,000,000. I think it was maybe about 500,000-600,000, because I was there for 22 days. But that was a lot of people anyway. It was that what we do know. ABC great kindly told us this in their sovereign citizens thing. Yeah, here, Donna here. I had lips so swollen I couldn't hold a pencil. I could hold a pencil under my lip. My eyelids swollen, nose burnt, hair falling out. This is what we suffered. But I was there for 22 days. There was a lot of people there, and ABC on that sovereign citizen documentary said it was the biggest protest Canberra had ever seen.
Mhm.
So it's historically the biggest protest ever,
Yes.
and no damage. You know.
Yes. And that just reminds me that during one of my shows, I actually referenced that show on the ABC coming up about sovereign citizens because I was talking to people who were, wanting to self-govern. And my show was all about change, stories about change to
Mm,
inspire people,
mm.
The station manager told me that he actually thought that the content of most of my shows was negative. Now, that just told me a hell of a lot about him. He was basically saying to me, I don't like anything you're talking about.
Yeah, because he was all for it,
Yeah.
and and
Yeah.
that's the truth. They were on the wrong side of history, and every day passes, they can no longer hide it.
Yeah.
They chose the wrong horse. They betrayed their country. They betrayed their family and friends. Not all of them, but a lot. They sacked people who didn't deserve to be sacked. They had no empathy for anyone who didn't decide to take it, no matter what happened to them, because they thought they were a superior people by taking this thing. And yeah, so this is where we are,
And
So we.
I also realized because I work with energy. I work with energy all the time, my own energy, other people's energy. What I realized is that the station manager and that other announcer, I realized that my shows triggered all of their unresolved stuff.
Mm.
And when you do that, I call it Pandora's box, right? Everybody
Mm.
shoves all their stuff that they don't really want to acknowledge, they shove it into Pandora's box, and some event can happen that opens the box up and all their stuff comes out. And
Yeah.
I realized that I had triggered both of them. And people have two choices when they get triggered, right? They either go and they start taking responsibility for their stuff and they start processing it and they
Mm.
start dealing with it. Or, like you said earlier, they get rid of the trigger.
That's well. The thing is, see, if you're not there, then even though they all know it's a lie, or most of them do, by staying together in the communal silence, hiding within the communal lie, they're safe, even though they know it's bullshit. But then you turn up. That's why people ostracized us from their lives, and they were still ostracized. A lot of family people I meet say when they try to reconnect with friends and family, it's just not the same. There's a great gulf that they can't cross. And
Yes.
that's the not wanting to hear our side. Not that I think we have all the truth, but
Mm.
there is a gulf, and they don't want to deal with the fact that they got conned.
Yes.
They were conned. The
Yes.
government used love of country and other people against them. They were
Absolutely.
they were conned, and they don't want to deal with it because attacking the government is too scary.
Yep.
Attacking you, much easier.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
That's
you
it.
know, it's
Cowardice.
been weeks since I got that, you're suspended until further notice. I have not had a phone call. I have not had any follow up. I've had nothing. So after a couple of weeks, I processed that situation myself. And you would have known because all the guests that I had coming up, I sent an email out to everybody saying there's blessings in everything. You've just got to find them. And I
Mm.
saw that stage one of my mission this year, learn the technical stuff about radio and get on live. I'd achieved it. I'd achieved
Mm.
it. Stage two, find the correct platform.
Yeah, well, there's another interesting thing. Another interesting thing is to study what TNT Radio did, because Jason Olborn, he's on our podcast, shares to our podcast now, or streams to our podcast now, is because we're a community of podcasters, not just me. There's 13 of us now. So
Right.
we're 7 days a week at the moment, with Saturday is a day where whoever's free can do something. Now we sort of fight over time. But TNT Radio, they had a lot of money behind them. They were, but it didn't work, and so it should have worked, but they eventually went under. So it's really interesting to learn. Okay, what did they do that didn't work? One of the things they did is that they were trying to in an hour. They were trying to get 4 guests in an hour and run people through. But what they didn't realize is that we are not journalists. And I was talking to Adrian McRae about this the other night. We're not journalists. What's happening? The she'll be right era is collapsing around us. Most of us have been living in the ruins for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And COVID stole our country's identity away. It's just, it's like rubbish just
Yes.
blowing around. So we're looking for the new Australia. We're looking to try to find out who we actually are as people. We're
Yep.
trying to find out what the truth is under this tsunami of bullshit we've been done.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually like front line, almost like we're writing a memoir we're discoverers, explorers on the front line. Because we can't be journalists because they won't give us the access to the real people we can talk to. They won't give us the data. So we can only sort of put these snippets together with people like us. And that's what we are. And then because we're having these conversations like this, people are joining us because they are participating in the conversation, or it gets their mind thinking, and they too feel that they're on this renaissance, which I feel is where the hope lies. And
Absolutely.
and people don't get that. If they think we're just CNN quicker, no, that's not it. The reason MSN can't catch us is they can't do live, unfiltered conversations because they're too scared of the truth getting out. And we're
Absolutely.
not. We're searching for the
Absolutely.
truth. And
And
that's what we
I
are. So longer conversations. Sorry, I rant on. But if you were there doing the show, I'd suggest the lessons from TNT is the longer conversational form is what the people want.
And that's what I was doing. Everybody
Yeah,
had an hour slot with me, and I was
yeah,
supposed to fill it with music. But when I had Ian on, I think I played one song in that hour because I didn't want to play any more songs, right?
fair enough.
But after you're right, you're right. I mean, when I did the public speaking in 2022, I said to everybody, we are pioneers.
Yes,
We are absolute pioneers. And I see that the old world is collapsing. It
yes,
is, yeah, it's collapsing and it's just falling apart. And we are stepping into the unknown. We're
that's
stepping
correct.
onto a new pathway that we have to build ourselves, because we have to now realize that we are the highest power on this planet.
Hmm.
We are the highest power and the greatest creators, right?
Yep.
And we can create anything we put our mind to. And that's why I want people on radio and why I want to talk to people, because I want to inspire others to go, start acting like it.
Yeah.
Start acting like you're the most
Start
powerful
exploring.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start
Yeah.
exploring.
Yes.
It's, I think there's one thing I'm realizing through discoveries, and I got a book of essays coming out this weekend, I think, is, is wanting what freedom they want. And a lot of people, the only freedom they've decided to hold on to is the freedom to endure, hoping that other people it'll all self rectify. But
Mm,
unfortunately, it's not. We've got, I'm using AI now, but there's AI is also taking our jobs. It's like a double-edged sword. So the corporations are racing like crazy to make us completely redundant and replace us with a robotic slave class. Uh, we have all these, and we're surrounded by lies. We're in a world of lies, so we're surrounded by all of this stuff, and there's no one coming to save us. You really have to look inside and go, am I here just to endure, be a spectator to the end of the world? Or am I here to fight for humanity in any way that I feel is correct? I call it the army of light. Even if you go into a supermarket and you stand in line to wait for the slowest person ever to serve you because you don't want to use the self serves, you're in the army of light. And what
yes.
you're doing is in the army of light. And this is how we fight, you know?
Because change is personal, it's an inside
Mm,
job. I call it an inside job. You have to rewire yourself,
mm.
yeah, to deprogram, unplug from all those programs out there. And when you do, it's a bit like in the Matrix. I don't know whether you ever saw the movie, but at one point,
Of course.
Neo,
The
yeah,
Matrix.
Neo and the girlfriend are in that, in the craft, and they fly up through all the dark sky, and they
Ah,
kind of
yeah, 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 yeah.
come up
I
above the
see the flag.
clouds into the sun just for a bit, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. She goes
And
beautiful, and then she goes back down and dies.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
because they had to complete what they started. But
But
for me,
she got to see the truth for a moment. Mm.
absolutely. And that's what inspires, right? That's what keeps you going.
Mm.
And that's what I was encouraging people to do. It's like, don't fight that thing out there. Don't even poke at it. Just leave it alone and let it, just decay all by itself, because the clearer I got about where I wanted to go and what that world looked like, it
Mm.
was full of people with a good moral compass. It was filled with compassion and love and all of those things. I felt like I was in a parallel reality. And I had
I
less and
think you
less.
are actually. I think that's where we
Yeah,
live, you know?
yes,
Yeah, because
absolutely.
you're in the reality where we cannot but see that the emperor is stone cold naked, and yet
Yes,
the ones that got you sacked They are desperate to believe that he's still dressed, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, they got an opportunity to grow by having me there, but they chose not to. So it's bye bye, and I move on to another stratosphere. And you are part of another stratosphere,
Mm,
right? And now I'm connecting with you. And it's
mm.
like, this is a better stratosphere. I would much rather be here. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, well, we're happy to chat. There's, and we like shit stirrers. There's what I find interesting, though, is that they won't debate you. They just hate you, you
Yes.
know?
That's what I said to you. I thought that out of those two gentlemen, they could have, they were mature,
Mm,
they were experienced, they could have come and had a conversation with me, but they didn't even try.
because why?
Yeah, because they weren't prepared to, because that meant that they had to challenge their own narrative and their own reasoning and everything else.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
another the other interesting thing with that too is with these debates, we actually wanna lose. We wanna be proven that the vaccine is safe and effective. Prove to us, yeah, great, safe. Oh, we're happy to be the fools. We're happy to believe that there's no war and that what all these things we're frightened of aren't happening, digital ID
Yes.
and enslavement. Prove
Yes.
us wrong. Happy to be
Absolutely.
fools and happy to go back to our lives. With those, what they have to lose is realizing they're living in a world of lies.
Mm.
It's more than delusion. It's a world of lies. And one of the lie they have to sell to their children, if you want to stay in that side of the universe, is you have to convince your children that the government cares for you, that big pharma really cares for you. They're really sitting there. How can we help you, Johnny? How can we help you get better? Where the evidence is overwhelming now, especially with Kennedy coming out with this new thing about autism. They have
Abs-
never cared for you. You are
absolutely.
just a golden goose that they will how would you not milk, that they just want to squeeze every ounce of gold out of you until they've exhausted you. You are nothing more than a way to make money, and that's the
Yes.
truth.
And I said that the president of the committee had the phone conversation with me, and she was very professional and all the rest of it. And then when she went to wrap up, she changed tact completely. And she said, Helen, I want to let you know that during COVID, I didn't get vaccinated. She said, I didn't because she said, I didn't because I had a government telling me what to do. And I had a gut feeling that nobody's going to tell me what to do, especially when it comes down to this stuff. And she said, I've got a lot of children at home. She said, I've even got my mother living with me at home. And my mother hated me for what I chose to do. And it caused such disruption in their house. Her mother said, you're going to kill us all, and all of that sort of stuff. But I got off the phone and I thought, isn't that interesting? Firstly, she tells me professionally that I need a disclaimer and I need to watch the content of my shows. But personally, she said in her own way, but I agree with you, Helen.
That is that that is a betrayer. That is shocking. She's actually on our side, and yet she's still trying to get you to comply to the bullshit. I don't care
So
how professional she is. That is what you know.
that was
You
that
sh-
was to appease her guilt. She was
yeah,
appeasing
yeah,
her guilt.
yeah. She should come on. Oh, look, I've met them. She should come on. It's wow. That's interesting.
Yes.
That is interesting.
So that told me volumes, right? They were,
Yeah,
through their own behavior, they were letting me know who I was dealing with.
that's a collaborator.
Yeah.
That really is. You know what I mean? If this was a
Yes.
war, that'd be someone who was, yes, I really
Yes.
am like a Parisian. Oh yeah, I'm really with the resistance, but she works with the Nazis. You know,
And that's why after they
allegedly.
served me with the suspension notice, when they served me with that, the following day she rang me and I looked at my phone and I thought, I'm not going to talk to you. I
Yeah.
am not going to talk to you. She didn't leave a message. She didn't leave a text. She rang me and I just didn't answer.
Wow. Wow. She's still on the journey. at
Mhm.
some point. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
So I just found that after I'd been addressed with all of this, I could feel myself limiting myself in the shows
Yeah.
and really getting sort of a little anxious about what was going to come out of my guest's mouth,
Yeah.
and things like that. And I thought, this isn't the deal. This isn't
No,
how I operate at
no.
all. Yeah. And then I got suspended, and I'm like, okay, that's great.
Oh, look, you
That's
weren't in the right place. Obviously, your heart for what you want to do is great, but you're
mm,
just in the wrong environment. You can't be
exactly.
frightened. This is a place for just not for fear. Angels fear to tread. I interviewed people. I called it "We are not your sovereign citizens," but they were arrested for that. But I was also thinking after the interview, and it was a really powerful interview. I was also thinking maybe I should rip off all the stickers of my bus because my bus is, I don't know if you know my bus, but I'll show you a picture. It's covered in war paint, like see, it's got free speech defense at the top.
Yep.
I was in Balaclava and some kid goes, only a Nazi would have free speech defense on their bus. So
Whoa.
I was tempted to rip off all the stickers and put Mr. Whippy and just try to knock it. I was only kidding, but you knew you were going to be on a list, which we probably already are, and the government can change. We're in dangerous times, but the thing is, within these dangerous times, that's what they want you to be frightened. And so, even if they do take you out, if you're not frightened, then you go out on your feet. You
Mhm.
go out free,
Well,
and yeah.
the reality that I live in, I have become so good at creating heaven on earth,
Oh, that's sweet.
right? They don't touch me. They don't touch me. I don't get involved. I don't get connected with it. And I sit and I wait for the next, I call them God's breadcrumbs. What's the next thing I'm going to? Who am I going to connect with? You came out of nowhere, right? And I'm like, this is great.
That's what my mum said. But
As you as you said to me before we came on, I rang you to interview you, and
yeah,
that ended up falling apart. And then you contact me to interview me. This is great, right? And now I'm going to connect with BBS Radio, and that came out of
where are
nowhere as
they
well.
based?
They're based in the United States.
Oh,
They're
great.
yeah, twin brothers, twin brothers. They've been running it for over 20 years now. It's radio and television.
Wow.
And they've got it down pat to a full, simple production. The only difference is that it's a paid platform. So I had a good conversation with them. I looked through all of their, what they offer and all the rest of it. And it's all falling into place. So I'll be starting off with them soon. So I'll be giving you a call to do an interview.
Oh, wow, cool. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I love chatting. And there's so much happening at the moment.
Mm,
There's Lindsay. We got a psychologist. He's coming on tomorrow. We were going to do a story. We're going to do a conversation about hate. And one of the most interesting things about hate at the moment is the response of many people to Charlie Kirk. And he told me that he's been hearing of these people who hated him. And what they've been doing is scouring all of his interviews, trying to find something they can go, look, see how hateful he is. But
mm,
instead, he's converting them all because they can't find the
right.
hate that they thought was there. They all thought,
Yeah.
oh, he hates gays, he hates this, but they just took it for granted. They never looked. They just
Mhm.
they just learned the lessons of hate and took it on board. There was when I was in hospital, I had a troll screaming at going, I wanted to post all the hateful stuff you said, but you must have taken it all down. I can't find it. With a heart attack. Yeah, that's it. Oh, just what I do. Just go down and take all the hateful stuff down. I mean, that's it. We're in a world now of division, and the government and the MSN are just trying to push the division, really getting to hate each other, you know?
Yes.
Like, say,
Yes.
even with the Muslims and stuff, you'll see people hate Islam, hate Islam. You know, So Muslims have been in this country the whole time I've been here. You know how many bad incidents I've had with Muslims? Oh, zero. None, ever.
Yeah.
Never one. I've worked
Yeah.
with them, I've got with them, I had a few friends with Muslims, never had a frigging problem with Muslims.
Hmm.
And but, and I agree, I don't like how they treat their women in their Afghanistan and stuff like this, but at the same time, that's their frigging country. I'm
Yep.
Australian. I've no
Yep.
belief that I'm a president of the world or anything. I'm just a little podcaster. I'm just concerned about my little neck of the woods, which is Australia, where we are losing free speech. They want
Yeah.
to try take it. They really tried and they failed, but they're trying in other ways, like what you are. You are a victim of free speech.
Mm.
They didn't want you out there, so they've got rid of you, you
Yep.
know? It's
And
vile.
they wouldn't be specific. They didn't tell me what show it was, what content it was. They didn't. They said they got some complaints, but they didn't tell me what the complaints were either. And
Oh,
after
you
my
could
third show,
sue them. So you could
after my
sue
third
them.
show, I had two callers that called in and complained. And I asked the studio manager, I said, what do I do about complaints? What happens about that? And he said, well, I'm supposed to send you the details of the person, their name and their phone number, and it's up to you whether you want to talk to them or not. And I said, well, what do you suggest? What is the standard of how this rolls, And he just looked at me and he said, Helen, it just tells me that people are listening, and that's good, right?
Yeah, I'd be the same. Man, I'd be going, great. People called in. That's fantastic. If I was the producer.
That was
Yeah.
it. So
But
I
the
didn't
thing is,
ring
those
that
people who
person.
hate you would come back again to
Yeah.
hate you more.
Yeah. So I didn't bother ringing the person because I just agreed with what he said. Yeah, okay, people are listening. But then when they got people ringing up after Ian came on and saying I was working in ER in a hospital and don't agree with him, that all of a sudden was important.
Why?
Yeah. Why? I
So you
don't
don't
know.
agree.
It
Big
wasn't
deal you don't
disclosed.
agree.
No.
Debate. Tell us why he was wrong. That's all
Yes.
Charlie was doing. Show me
Yes.
why I'm wrong. Let's
And
discourse.
when Ian found out what had happened, he said, Helen, he said, I'm devastated. I'm devastated that they've done this to you. What evidence do you want? I can give you anything you want. And I said, I know you can. I know you can. I said, but it's pointless. Just, thank you, but let's just move on. Because these guys
Going
are,
back to Ian, I
hey?
mean, you've interviewed him now.
Mm,
If you hate Ian Brighthope, Professor Ian Brighthope, then you are a different species of human for me. Because the man just radiates his surname. I have a joke that going, there's no you were bound for this because you couldn't be a serial killer with Brighthope. It just wouldn't work. It's just you're this incredible guy. And even if he changed his name, I don't care because he changed it and he's lived up to the change. I don't know where it comes from, but the guy's joyous.
I said that. I said that before, as I introduced him before the interview started. I said, this man embodies such experience and
Mm,
wisdom and
gotcha.
confidence. As he talks, you're listening to the truth.
Mm,
You are.
mm.
And that's how I introduced him. Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's incredible at the moment.
Yes.
It's 5 years, and you'd think by now, even though their side's truth is crumbling, you
Hmm.
realize they don't care about the truth. I'll tell you something interesting. We said this a few years ago with Oosterhouse. I said, we've been besieging the castle of their castle for a couple of years and firing the truth at them, trying to get them to open the doors and come see. And finally, we got into their castle, and it was empty. They never wanted the truth.
I
Ne
love that analogy. I love
They
that.
never wanted it. We thought this would set them free, but they never wanted it. What it is, Canberra, where I am now, is a perfect example. A woman I met here, PJ, she told me a thing called the golden handcuffs, and she said what it is they've got great jobs, good position, status, nice house, all this stuff, and it comes with one price: silence. You can't tell the world what you really think. You have to propagate the lies.
Mm.
And what happens in that is you become a gilded cage. You get lost within it. And someone like you comes along, or Bright Hope, or anyone, and tells the truth. It makes it very hard for them to cope with their existence.
Yes.
Much easier if all the budgies stuck in their gilded cage are all singing the same lie, you know?
Yes.
Where you come along like me, I mean, me and my bus, I'm like an escape budgie. I just fly around the cage going, "Hey, look, it's so gay out here. The truth doesn't hurt."
Yes, I know. I've been pushing people's buttons all my life, but I've always done it with love. There's always been a love and a kindness there with it. It's never been of ill intention at all, you know? I just wish people would be more open-minded.
Yeah, 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 even I mean, just open-minded doesn't mean you have to believe everything you say,
Mm,
but you're open to listen to things, you know?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Nettie just said she might come on. We should get Nettie on. She's here. She has a very different view on things. She doesn't think there's any viruses. She thinks Charlie Kirk's still alive, flat Earth, all this sort of stuff. I don't believe any of that stuff, but I don't get rid of her if it's a
Well,
her. It's
I
because I
investigated.
don't care if people have different views.
I investigated all of those things because, I wanted to be open minded and go, I'm not going to say the earth's round or it's flat. I want to go and investigate it and listen. And truly, there's so much bloody evidence to both sides,
Mm.
tons of evidence.
Yeah,
But I got
I have to admit there
I
is.
got to the
I'm a
point
round
where,
earther, but there is a lot of there is compelling evidence both ways. There's a
yes.
lot of stuff happening now with Charlie's death,
Hmm.
and that doesn't make sense.
Hmm.
There's and I had an ex-army officer the other day going through it with me very logically, very calmly, and he said this doesn't make sense. Even though he said, like, if the young man had carried the rifle there, and he doesn't see how he could have carried the rifle there because it's quite large. He says, but it has a scope on it. He said if he had to attach the scope, he couldn't have hit anything because that's an old rifle. If you put a scope on an old rifle, you need to go to a firing range and zero it in, get it so the bullet hits the thing. It can take half an hour. So there's no way he could have hit Charlie. So there's
I
all
saw
these.
I saw a YouTube of a guy dismantling the type of
Yeah,
rifle that
yeah.
he would have had. He had a backpack and he had to pack it in there, and what he had wouldn't fit into that
Yeah,
backpack.
these are real questions that
And
the
he had to
FBI
undo.
aren't answering.
He had to use like an Allen key or something to undo a few parts.
Screwdriver.
And he said that there's no way in the world that guy with that amount of adrenaline running through his body would have been able to actually do what he was supposed to do in the time
Yeah,
that he did, all the rest of it. Yeah. You just froze. Michael, you've frozen. Or is it me that's now frozen? I can't hear Kelly.
Hi. I have
Now-
myself muted because I'm in the background.
Now I can.
If you want to keep on telling us about your books and things, just continuing on until Michael comes back in, because goodness knows why he's
Oh, right.
frozen.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So everybody can hear me, but they can't
Yes.
see him. Okay, gotcha. Thank you, Kelly.
Michael will be back in any moment.
Okay.
The generators probably ran out of fuel or something.
Oh, no. Okay, everybody. So, yes, I did write a book in 2023. That was part of my journey leading up to radio. I wrote and published a book, and it's called My Return to Love. It was about my life. It was about all the programs that I got caught up in. So it touches on the programming that happens to all of us.
Hey.
Yeah, there he is. God,
How
what a
are you?
place to stop. I say suicide and you come back on.
Yeah, my Starlink. I don't know what happened. My Starlink. What's it say? Your router recently rebooted. Oh, it had an update, so it rebooted me without asking. But just back to
Oh,
Charlie Kirk, what I was saying
yep.
was, so he took apart the rifle, and then he's running off with the biggest manhunt ever happening behind him, and he leaves the rifle in the woods, but he reassembles it before running off. And then within 15 minutes, he's at a Taco Bell or some other fast food thing in a different t-shirt, the t-shirt he wore in the morning, ordering fast food. So, I think if you just killed someone, you probably would not be hungry for a while. Your adrenaline would be going through. So nothing makes sense.
So,
Nothing
do
makes
you
sense.
think that this is because, remember what I said earlier, that world out there is collapsing, right? It's been a beautiful world. It was created by the minds of men, right? It's
Yeah.
been created by all of us, but it's done and it's collapsing. So,
Yeah.
while it's collapsing, do you think it distorts the energy? It distorts what we see. It distorts the way people think.
Oh, I don't know. I actually been coming at it from another angle. I don't know about that. That's an interesting idea. My thing is that uh, if that guy didn't do it, if someone else didn't do it, I don't really care. I'm really upset that Charlie's dead, but we someone killed Kennedy. It wasn't Oswald, and I'm not going to spend the rest of my life
Mm,
begging or yearning to find out who did it because they're never going to tell me.
yes,
They did a crime, they got away with it,
yes,
and oh, sorry, our lives are full of this.
yes.
And so if someone else did do Charlie Kirk, we will probably never find out. And we'll
And do you
spend the
know
rest of our
why?
lives with all these conspiracy theories, which
Absolutely.
could probably be true, but
Absolutely.
it just entangles your soul. You just get really caught up in all this and you think everything's bad, where in actual fact, there are battles and
And do you
you know,
know though, do you know what there's another reasoning behind that too. Remember what I said earlier about we are the most powerful thing on this planet. We
yeah, we
are the
are.
creators. We are the creators, right? So if our thinking and our energy creates reality, if you can get us distracted and unfocused,
Yeah,
that stops us creating, right?
yeah.
And they've got so many people focused on crap, focused on things that they can't resolve, they can't find the answers for, and that stops people creating a beautiful life for themselves.
Yeah, that's right. Or trying to fix the things you can fix.
Yes.
And that's where
Yes.
we are. There are things here where we can fix. The
Yes.
education system has gone from teaching us, like, I'm 59. You're probably about 10 years
64.
behind me? Oh, you're older.
6.
Holy shit. So here you are. We grew up. Do you remember algebra in
Yes.
school? They'd be giving you algebra, and people were going, "What are we learning this crap for?" And they used to say, "It's to teach you how to think." They give you a
Mm,
problem. 1 plus A equals F. What's X? And you'd be going, huh?
mm,
There were solutions. You had to think your way through it. It was to
yes.
teach us to think. But they
Yep.
was about that. They were more interested in teaching us to think. Now it's very clear even from the young people we've had on. Now it's what to think. There is
Mm,
there is some form of communism rising up, where
mm,
suddenly the government has to protect us. We have to protect people from you, Helen, because you've got
mm,
Dr. Brighthope up and you're talking about things that, can heal them cheaply. They
mhm.
don't need big farmers, crock of shit, and
Yes.
you're going to get upset because, this old lady's been taking this blood pressure medication since she was 3 years old and
Mhm.
it's never worked, but she has to take it because her doctor told her to,
Yes.
in actual fact, we're reminding people you're not slaves. Slavery is a choice,
Well,
and cowardice is a choice.
along
Yeah,
comes Ian, and Ian says, everybody when COVID came out probably should have just gone and got their bloods done, and then done the protocol with the vitamin C, D, and zinc, and we could have just got it all sorted out within 6 to 8 weeks. That's
Yeah.
what he said on radio, right?
The thing is, though, Helen, is like for you, one of the interesting things about that era, because that was our era of propaganda. The Nazis did it against the Jews. We got hit by, you know, who knows how much money they spent on it, billions on this propaganda fear machine. And they
Mm,
were all in on it, you know? And so they did that. And a lot of people couldn't hack it. The fear
mm.
overwhelmed them. It's a very
Yes,
powerful force. For some of
yes,
us, we were able to withstand the fear.
yep.
And that's the interesting question that I still ponder about because I haven't found the answer. What is it about us? Because it's not like a whole family group. You can have many of us who didn't do it are the only one in the whole family, one or two. You
You
know what I
think
mean? We're in
about it.
small groups.
You think about what fear does. Fear does to the brain a certain thing. This is the frontal lobe,
Yeah,
right? Then we've got the limbic or the mammalian brain, right, which is emotional and memory. And then at the back, we've got the reptilian
yeah,
brain, right? The primal brain. So when we get stressed or we get frightened, we power down. We just power down. All of our energy goes ready for fight and flight, and we can't use our frontal lobe anymore because all
mm,
power has gone to the reptilian brain, which is fight and flight. You
yeah,
can't reason from there, you can't rationale, you can't think things through. You can only survive and react.
yeah,
So if you
yeah,
can keep people in fear and you can keep that fight and flight turned on all the time, you've got them. You've got them trapped. People like you and I, you know, when I did the public speaking, I actually said to everybody in the room one day, I had them all there in the audience. I said, everybody who's a black sheep, put your hand up.
yeah,
The whole bloody room put their hand up. They all put
mm,
their hand up. We have been through trial and error. We have been through trauma. We have been ostracized, judged, ridiculed, all of that sort of stuff. So when there's something fearful happening, I think we automatically don't go into fight and flight.
mm.
So we
Yeah,
don't
it's interesting, isn't it?
succumb.
Yeah. The other interesting thing about that though is whether it's trained or whether it's natural, whether there's some evolution. Like there's 20% of people who can't be hypnotized,
Yep.
80% can, 20%
Yes.
cannot be,
Mhm.
and I don't even think the scientists know what it is about the 20%. They'll just have people come up and then suddenly it doesn't work on someone. I
Yeah.
wonder, everyone's watching these massive TVs, these huge, they're like drive-in cinemas in their own living room, and this was hitting them constantly. Like in
Yes.
1984, Winston had it on the wall. He didn't want it there. He used to hide from it, but it was there. But we buy them in. We buy the latest one. Who's to know there's not subliminal messaging going on? Who manner of stuff?
Yes.
I don't know. We don't know.
Yes.
What we
Well,
do know,
even
though, is that for some reason, the fear just didn't work, you know?
mm, mm,
Yeah. It's fascinating.
it
I don't
is.
understand why there's not psychiatrists doing PhD studies trying to figure out what it is, but it's certainly that way. And
No.
what I love is that you can have grandmothers and great grandmothers. I mean, the oldest one I met was 101 in Epic. She was 100, I think. 100, 101, sitting there on a seat. She was the oldest one I met, and she didn't buy it. Yeah,
Mm.
and then there's there was another woman in another older lady. I think her name was oh I sorry, my brain's failing. But she was blind, and she said to me, uh, "I'm blind, and I can still see what's going on."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So how are we wired different? It's a good question. It's a really good
It's
question.
the question,
Mm,
because if it happens again, what's going to happen? Are these people will they go, nah, nah, and we're not falling for that again, and sort of come together and unite, which is the best thing we can hope for?
Mhm.
Or will they just choose the freedom to endure and just go back undercover and hope that the government takes it out on us? You know,
Mm.
because what I learned early on was that the USSR and China, they didn't establish their communistic systems with a gun. They just built it around compliant people who were just quietly hoping to endure it, and until finally they were fenced in.
They were
You
in the
know,
box.
they were in the
Yes.
box. Yeah,
Yes. Yep. And here now, most of the world, the cage to the door is just about to close.
that's correct. That's correct. You see it everywhere. The cameras in this country are insane.
Yes.
They are everywhere, and they're all run by AI, and people are changing their behavior because of the cameras. They're always looking up camera, quick camera, this, evading the cameras. So what's actually happening is that AI is already changing our behavior.
Yes. Yes. Because, when I got suspended from the radio station, I'm in, LinkedIn, the LinkedIn platform. I'm a
Yeah.
part of that. I was advertising my radio shows through there.
Oh, okay.
Soon as I got suspended, LinkedIn started sending me jobs that were available at 3AW and
Oh my
9.
God.
And I'm like, wow, how did
Wow.
AI do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
It must
Yeah.
have read my emails.
Yeah. There is, or listening in. I mean, we just don't know.
No.
There's we're actually, the other great thing though, this is, let's go positive now. The great positive thing that's happened though, I tell people this, is if you decided you were going to go against the government, you weren't going to fall for it, or you fell for it for say 1 or 2, and then you thought, nah, I'm not doing any more, and then you sort of joined us, and we have podcasters like that. Uh you suddenly begin an odyssey, not a journey, an odyssey, because you lose things that you thought you couldn't live without: family members, your job, your career, your country. Suddenly you're ostracized.
Mhm.
But we haven't died. In fact, in the freedom movement, I'm not even aware of many suicides. We've somehow
Yes.
survived. We found each other, and that was the big thing. All of us helping each other to get through the shit is one. I
Yes.
mean, and we got through it, and we learned how strong we are, and we're still
Yes.
learning. And there's a fire in our bellies now. We have purpose. We get up. We fall down, but we get back up. We're
Mm.
quite a cool community, and
We're
we're
actually a
developing
very beautiful
constantly.
community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are.
When I did the public speaking, that's what I started to notice, that just me creating a platform was bringing in all sorts of people from different groups that were all out there, and they were all coming together to meet each other. And
Yeah.
all of them were just the kindest, most loving, and beautiful men and women. And, it's like, what a beautiful world
Mm,
we've all started creating with each other.
mm. Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, there is a lot of division, but that's not really a bad thing. I tell people, we have a black sheep paradox. Like one of the reasons we might not have taken it is because we're black sheep. But one of the reasons we don't form another great herd to work together as one is because we don't do herds, because we're black
Mm.
sheep.
Yeah.
So there's a paradox there.
Yeah.
So we have to come together out of respect. I actually tell people, look, last 5 years, we've all been heading in the same direction, even though we don't know where we're going. We all knew we were on the right path, even though
Mhm.
we don't know where we're going. We're all trying to climb this mountain of liberty, and no one knows which is the right way. And
Mm.
so everyone goes, I'm going this way. And to me, it's like, well, go. Go
Mm.
see what you find. If you find something, we'll follow you. You know, we've all
Yes.
we just don't know. Everything we thought we
Yes.
knew is gone. Like Joe
Mhm.
Rogan said, you know, one minute he was a believer, hadn't liked Big Pharma, had no problems with it. Then COVID comes along. Now he doesn't know where the man landed on the moon. He questions everything. You know,
Yes.
that's the
Yes.
truth.
Yes.
And so here we are. And so I have to live now knowing, like I think a perfect example is I'm realizing that the only truth I'll really know is love and death. Because
Mhm.
I know when I'm in love, I know this feeling, I know this with this connection with someone. This is a real thing that I can believe in.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm gonna die. What happens after death, I don't know. But everything else, climate change, all this stuff, lies.
Yeah.
But where's the truth in that? I don't know. You know,
Yeah.
we've heard today somebody was telling me, Julian Gillespie, the barrister, he was telling me that they've done this thing with COVID several times in the last hundreds of years, even like in the late 1800s or something with smallpox. They were
Mhm.
rolling out this vaccine that was killing people, killing kids. And if you didn't take it, you'd get arrested. We've actually been through this before. And we forget, you know,
Yep.
and that's what's happening now. People go, "Why are you talking about that? That's finished. That's over." No, we're trying to talk about it to try and understand it so that we don't go through it again.
Yeah.
Because
We're here
we
to
don't.
break the cycles. We've got to break the cycles.
That's right. We
Mm.
have to break the cycles. We've got to evolve. We're
That's
better
right.
than this. We're better
Yes.
than this. And we've got to get to a point where the governments serve us.
That's right.
Because at the moment, Albanese, I don't know who he's serving. It's not us.
Mm.
And
Mm.
you don't need to be a scholar to know that.
Well, I go back to the same thing. We are the most powerful creators on this planet, and we've forgotten to act that way. We've forgotten, right?
Yeah.
Whatever I put my focus to, whatever I put my attention on, I'm creating it. I'm even going and looking up on how to hire private jets because I want to fly around this planet in private jets because I don't want airports anymore. I just want to be able to fly from wherever I am to wherever I want to go. And I've also put my mind to it, to the also that I have a private trust that supports me for the rest of my lifetime.
Yeah.
Right? Start thinking about we don't have to we don't have to go stupid, right? But I just want a quality home to live in. I like quality, not a quantity. I just want to be able to fly around in my private jet and have the money that I need to support myself and my family. Thank you very much. Right?
So
And
that's quite a job for a private jet. And maybe you think of me an evangelistic preacher, maybe that could get that, or a maybe
oh, you just
maybe maybe a vaccine pushing politician. I hear their bank balances generally go up quite
hey,
mysteriously.
you are underestimating what I'm capable of.
Must be interesting being in a private jet. You know what I mean? I've never
I
been in one.
know. I know.
Yeah.
I've been investigating it. It's about $6,000 an hour.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Now the other thing too. Tell us about the books you've written.
It's one book.
Okay.
My Return to Love.
Oh, cool. Where
Right?
did you go to lose it?
Well, I was programmed by my mum. I was programmed by my dad and the school system and everybody else in my life. And I didn't realize until later on in my life that I was living everybody else's life. I lost
Mm,
myself and who I was, and I
mm,
just became everything for everyone else. And
mm,
um, all I was doing was fighting against that my whole life. So
mm,
I wrote the book. It was really quite cathartic. And the contents of the book go from anything from the suicide to the programs that I just spoke about, to seeing ghosts and spirits, to seeing auras around people,
wow.
um, being in a domestic violent relationship, ending my marriage. That wasn't the domestic violent part of it. Ending my marriage, stepping into a domestic violent relationship. I was a drug addict. I was a drug dealer.
No, really?
Yeah.
Wow, I wouldn't have picked that.
Yeah. I have been in a lot of different shoes in my life, and karma. I actually had an experience in karma. I didn't even know karma existed. I didn't even know that it was something that might have been real. I had telepathy. I had all sorts of abilities, clairvoyance, telepathy, all sorts of things. And all of those experiences taught me what it's like to live disconnected from source or God or whatever you call that. When we lose that connection, that's hell. That's hell. Yeah. And I was living in hell and I'd lost that connection. And then I started to, like you were saying before about what makes us wired differently, I started to want to be connected to something and I started to find it. And when I started to find it, that's when I had the clairvoyant sort of abilities. I started to see auras. I started to see ghosts and demons.
Do you see auras with anyone? Like if you're walking down the street, everyone's aglow, or is it just in certain situations?
Right. Well, that's a good question, because even the ability to see auras evolves. It started with me actually seeing the colors around people. I would walk into rooms that were filled with green and I'd be like, what the hell's all this green here? What's all this green? What's going on? Right. And that evolved into me understanding and tuning into the energy of it. And that then turned into me not having to see the colors anymore, because I would just know. I would just know the energy of somebody. Yeah.
So you could switch it off somehow.
Well, it just transformed. It just evolved itself.
Okay.
It's kind of like different levels of being able to see and deal with energy. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I even started to see, I went to church. I wanted to revisit church to get rid of my old programming about church. And I went to a Bible study course because I wanted to figure out what the Bible was all about.
Yeah.
And at the course, the minister's standing up there talking to us, and there's this big spectre of like a bishop standing behind him, the big hat on, the big robes.
Wow.
I'm looking around the room at everybody else thinking, can anyone else see what I'm seeing here? But nobody could. But I said to that minister, he talked about Jesus and the reincarnation. So I asked him a question. I said, so was Jesus multidimensional? And he stopped and he looked at me and he said, we don't know. It's a mystery. Oh. It's a mystery. And I thought to myself, he really just doesn't know anything. He hasn't got the answers. So I don't need to go to Bible study anymore. I'm going to move on and find out. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started seeing energies around people and all sorts of things. It was really crazy.
Yeah. I've always enjoyed finding out for myself. I've always, even from a young kid, I've been bored of the idea of I'm walking a road that everyone's walked and everyone knows everything. I'm rather interested in, well, I'm here on the planet. I want to discover things for myself, see what I think of them, you know?
Yes. And that's what I was doing. I was revisiting to get rid of my old programming about church and about God. I wanted to open my mind up to other ideas about what that might be. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just in the drug stuff though. How long were you doing that?
Gosh, really, there were probably 2 cycles of it. I started doing it because when I kind of was 18, 19 years old, I was going out to discos. Remember the discos and yeah, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I remember the discos.
Yeah, so it was doing a bit of it then. And then I stopped because I got engaged to this guy and I wasn't doing the drugs then. But then when that broke up, I got back into the drugs, and that's when I got into the amphetamines and stuff.
Oh, wow.
And have you ever made a declaration sometimes? I think that sometimes if you make a declaration out loud, it's like something hears you and it sets into motion something else. So I remember declaring out loud that because some people around me were using needles and shooting up the
Yeah,
amphetamine
yeah,
at the speed.
yeah.
And I said to myself, I declared that if I ever used needles, I'd cut my arm off.
Oh, wow.
And of course, what happened? I found myself just hitting up for the first time. And it
Oh,
was the
oh,
most
wow.
incredible experience. And, you know, I was addicted from there on.
Really? And was that
Yeah.
amphetamines or heroin?
Amphetamines. I only did heroin once. And thankfully, I like going up, not coming down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 Well, it's a huge journey to get there. A lot of people don't come back from that journey, you know?
Absolutely. And, that's where I started to find out the actual power that we have in ourselves,
Mm.
because I then got into the domestic violence, or into this relationship with the guy. He owned a brothel. I ended up working at his brothel. I ended up
Oh,
working at
really?
his brothel.
As
But
a working girl or as a admin?
as the receptionist, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
I loved it because it was just a completely different world. I never had
Yeah, yeah,
anything to
yeah.
do with. So I embraced it, and I even told people, like, I'm working at this brothel and I'm a receptionist, And it didn't take me very long to realize that every girl that worked there told everybody that they were the receptionist. So all the people that I was telling that
That's
to were
funny.
they were going,
Yeah.
sure,
Lot of
sure.
receptionists in that brothel.
Yes.
No working
And
girls.
yes,
You can't get
yes.
laid, but you can get your
Yep.
form you can get your forms you can get your form filled in for you.
That was a really funny time. It really
Yeah.
was. And that was where, I got involved with the guy who was the owner, and there was the Hells Angels around. There was
Oh,
all, like,
wow.
truly, I just started stepping into a different world, a very different world. And I had a middle class, educated upbringing, and all of a sudden I was hanging around in a dog eat dog world. It
Yeah.
was really confronting. When I wanted to leave that world, it took him nearly killing me and strangling me for me to declare that if he put his hands around me and picked me up off the floor, and I knew I'd taken my last breath. I knew I was about to die. So
Wow.
in my head, I said, if he drops me, I'll do whatever it takes to get out. And something heard me. Something heard me because he dropped me. And the next day, from that day forward, I stopped the drugs completely. I had
Wow.
no withdrawals. I had no symptoms, nothing. I just stopped and I started planning my escape route. It was really quite powerful. And those experiences made me realize what we're actually capable of,
Yeah. Of what we can
right?
survive. Yeah.
Mm, absolutely.
Interesting, isn't it, how strong we can be? And you
Yeah.
don't feel it. Yeah, in fact, you don't really know until you're tested, you
Yes,
know? And that's when it
absolutely.
comes, you
So
know?
I wanted to write about those
Yeah.
experiences I had, because I just hope that people find a little piece of themselves in there. They find some inspiration to get out of some sort of shit that they're in,
Mm.
They fall in love with themselves a little bit more, enough to shift.
But you're talking choice. Even though you're in these situations, you're still
Yep,
the architect of your life because you're choosing, okay, this path finishes now. I'm
correct.
preparing, I'm going in another way, you know?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
It still took me 2 intervention orders and 4 years to actually break away from that man.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, this
But
can happen.
truly, I learnt so much about myself and who I am and what we're capable of. I wouldn't change it for
What do
anything.
you think it is about men who, because do you know that I had to do an interview before years before this about this suicide prevention play I'd written, and the woman before me was also being funded by the government or funded by the New South Wales Police to do a study on domestic abuse situations to find out how many of the victims killed themselves. What she discovered was very few victims of domestic abuse killed themselves, but huge amounts of domestic abusers killed themselves. And the catalyst was shame. They just couldn't fight the shame. And I wonder, like, he stayed with you for 4 years, he wouldn't let you go. I wonder if a part of him somewhere was trying to figure out a way to get it back to something good, to make sense of it, like he could get past this. I don't know. I find it really interesting as to why they just don't let it go, because you hear this a lot. But
Because
that
he
I
thought
found
he
was really
owned me.
interesting.
He thought
What's that?
he thought he owned me. He
Yeah,
owned me, you
it's
know?
amazing.
Yeah, and he couldn't let go of that. It's like he owned me. He had convinced himself that whenever I would blow up in the relationship and want him to behave better and wanting the relationship to evolve, because I'd been married before. I knew what it was like to have a relationship, and I knew what it was like to have it evolve, but I also knew what it was like to have it dissolve as well.
Mm.
And I wanted to, he and I to evolve. And whenever he wouldn't change and he wouldn't communicate, I would blow up. And he just convinced himself that he was all okay. I had a problem. And I couldn't control myself. I'd be okay for a while and then I'd blow up and I'd go out of control. And I had the problem. He didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
He wanted to stay the same. He wanted to do all the things that he was always doing. And I knew what happened when you stayed the same. It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Yeah, I don't know how people could stay the same, especially in the world now. You know what I mean? It's
Mm.
interesting, you know?
Mm.
I find myself growing all the time, even now, still
Yes.
learning new things. You know, I had to learn InDesign yesterday. It's, to finally get this book cover done for Stapleton, the guy who's publishing it. And he's sitting there, parties going, "Ugh, do I have to learn something new, especially computer stuff?" But you got to
Yes.
get it done. There's no one else to do
Yes.
it. And
Well, the truth is, though, that my brother just recently went to a funeral, and that man that I was in that domestic violent relationship was there at that funeral. And my brother said to me, he looks like a shell of a man because he kept doing coke and other drugs for lots of years after I left. And he's just a withered old man.
Mm. Mm.
So, I had two choices there: to move on and evolve or stay there and devolve.
Yeah. Yeah, I've met them. I remember some jobs, you'd have people who've been there for 30 years doing, and they never liked it from the beginning. 30 years they'd stayed there. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes,
And
I do.
I remember with my kids. Oh yeah, Bill Lopez. When I'm there, man, I'd be he's down the mechanic works on the bus. I'd be happy there, learning all. I'd love to learn more about mechanics, and no one would think this soppy old poet would want to be in mechanics. But when I'm there, I get covered in grease. I'm a happy man. There's
Yeah.
it's interesting, this life. I've actually got to a point now where you're suddenly realizing, gee, there's not enough. There's so many things to do that you have to be prudent now. So every day since my heart attack, I see as a gift. What am I going to do today? This is a small handful of days I have left on the planet. I want to experience things. I want to be alive. I want to help. I want to do something that changes people's lives. I want to push myself.
And
That's why
Michael,
today releasing my first album, and it's
yeah.
sold. I couldn't believe it. Oh my God.
Well, I started to figure out that we're not here to compromise ourselves to make
Yeah,
somebody else happy.
good point. That's
We're
right.
not here. We're here to be ourselves and to fulfill and do the things that we love in conjunction with others.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we had this other Fina on the other night. She said something interesting. She said, if there's something in your life that really pisses you off, that's what you got to fix. That's your, that's your, that's your assignment, she said, from the universe. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, and I love it that people have all these ideas of, we all come up with these concepts of why we're here. But what I love now, I've never known a time where so many people are talking about it so passionately.
Mm-hmm.
But that's only our community. I don't know about the other community,
Yeah.
but our community, this is what we talk about,
Yeah.
wanting to live, wanting to build.
I call those things resistance. If I feel
No, Jan,
resistance,
sorry, love. It's just download. Sorry.
I call it resistance. If I feel resistance to an idea or a person or something, I have to look at that resistance, that energy I've
Yeah.
got in myself, and I have to dissolve it. I have to work with it. And I've learned to do that really successfully.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
Because
there's
the
other
only
things
thing,
too, though. Some of these people are on a different journey. They're not where
yes,
you are. Have you
yes,
even noticed you can be in a relationship with someone and it can be really special. And then if you have a break for a few years and go back, it doesn't work like it did. Sometimes it does, but it doesn't work like it did because you've both changed. You are not the
yes,
people you were when you both met.
yes,
And that's how it's like, I remember, you could see a street and the street would look the same, but it actually wasn't. There was always things changing. Houses being rebuilt, solar panels, constant change. Yeah,
mm,
but for some reason, it always looked the same.
yeah,
It's one of the beauties of living on the road in a bus.
mm-hmm.
I was on the Monaro Highway yesterday, and in the afternoon, coming up, leaving Cooma, the landscape, the sun, there was rain coming through. It was just breathtaking. It was just, and you try to take a photo of it, but the photo doesn't capture
No, it doesn't.
the gravity of it. It's
Yeah.
just so beautiful.
Mm,
And I think it's a gift to be on this planet. It's a gift to be alive. Somehow they've said it's not, and everyone goes, "Oh, I didn't want to be alive." This is the programming. You said you escaped. I was a part of that too.
mm,
When I was born, I think like you, we were
mm,
born into lies then,
mhm.
and you had to. It took time to get out of it, and then once you're out of it, we didn't have the internet or communities to find. Often, one of the
Mm,
first things you had to deal with once you started to extricate yourself, or sorry, wrong word, was loneliness, because
absolutely.
you couldn't speak to
Absolutely.
anyone. No one got it.
Absolutely. Yep,
You know?
that's how I saw it. It's like every time I wanted something else, I'd step out on my own and there'd be nothing. There'd
Yeah,
be nothing.
yeah,
And you're right, you'd be alone. And it was like everybody, the tribe
yeah,
would be watching you and they'd think, yeah, there's Helen going off doing one of her things again. She'll be back soon because, she's going to just find nothing out there and she'll be
yeah,
back. And they were right. They were
yeah,
right.
yeah. That's right. I see hoping to go platinum, would go tinfoil. I'm just happy I sold one, Jason. I'm happy with
Tinfoil.
one. I'm happy with one, man. It's just it sold really quickly, so I'm happy with one. But yeah, this was, I remember, I love my family, the family I grew up with, but they were staunch Catholics. And the more, I was about 10 or 11 years old and realizing this is all lies. And you were utterly alone, going to
Yes.
school alone, doing this alone. This was a part of the journey, and there
Yes.
was no one to find. There was no. It seemed impossible to find anyone who could make you feel that you weren't alone.
Yes.
And then you became, oh, what's wrong with that kid? He's a difficult kid, but you just couldn't dance the dance they wanted you to dance because it was just bullshit. You know?
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
I
It's
would do
interesting.
it for I would do it for a little while. I would just compromise
Oh,
myself.
you could act it. You'd be in a job. You
Yes.
just shut up and
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, but
Enough.
it's yeah, because I never liked the footy. I'm not into sports. And where I grew up, if you went into footy, you didn't. If you went into footy, it didn't exist. They come up to you, go, say, "What footy team you follow, mate?" I don't follow the footy, and they go, and they wouldn't know what to say because if you say Hawthorn, they go, "Ah, bloody Hawthorn." They go, "Oh, good," But because it was just automatic behaviour. These are the conversations we have when, in actual fact, I don't give a shit what your football team is because I don't care either. I'm just
Yes.
going through the motions of these conversations we have. But now I live in a community that has conversations like this all the time, and our
Yes.
souls are expanding.
Mhm.
It's like they were dried sponges, and all this
Yeah.
conversation pours water on them. We continue to grow. And
It's a
this
good
must be a
analogy.
question the other side asks, like your friends are going, what is it with you guys? We've
Mm.
ostracized you. We took your jobs. We took your careers. We're kicking you out of this radio station now. Why don't you quit? Why are you happy? Why are you getting on and having these conversations? Why aren't you just shutting up and lying like the rest of us?
Roll over and die.
Why don't they ask that? What is
Yes.
it that you guys have? Because you know what? We haven't died
Mm.
and we haven't taken the jab. I haven't
Mm.
met, oh, I only met just one woman who was a nurse or an EN, and then she didn't take it, and now she was a cleaner, and her life wasn't happy. She was the only one I've met who said, "I wish I'd taken it." I thought that was really interesting. Only one. Yet literally everyone who's taken it goes, "I wish I hadn't taken it."
Yes.
But this is it. Apart from that, everyone in the community I've met, no,
Mm.
they're not going back. So we're
Yep.
heading somewhere else.
We
Yeah, I
need
call it.
to we need to just keep our focus on what we're creating and what we want. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, or even just knowing, because I'm not sure what I want. I just know that where we are now is not conducive to the human soul. Uh, in the world that they're building, the world that they want us to be in, with digital ID and social credit score system and all this shit, it's not conducive to our human souls. And so we have to do something to find somewhere else. We just don't know where that is, and it's a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
And but as someone said to me the other day, they think the time has changed because who said that to me? Who was I talking to? I talked to so many people, and they said a few years ago it was like one step forward, two steps back. Now they feel like it's two steps forward and one step back.
Well,
Slowly, slowly, we're
what I
changing.
found also though, right, is that when you'd ask people what they really, if they could have the life they wanted to live, what would it be? People could only go as far as going, I want acreage, so I want land, and I want to grow my own food, and have some animals, and some people even want to have a healing center or something like that.
Yeah,
And people couldn't think more than that. They couldn't think past that. And what I
yeah,
realized is that people were so stressed out that they'd lost the ability to dream.
yeah,
They'd
yeah,
lost the ability to use their imagination and to dream. And I even remember that back in my 40s. I sat in a personal development class, and the guy said, "Okay, I want you all to write down where you're going to be in 5 years' time." And the first feeling that I felt was terror,
yes,
absolute terror, because I was probably about 45, and I'd come out of a marriage. I had 3 kids that were, kind of, growing up and getting ready to leave home and things like that. And I realized that I had not actually dreamt a life for myself for decades,
wow,
decades, right? And so I could relate to these people as I started to meet them over the last few years who didn't know how to dream.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah,
So we need to encourage them to dream and use their imagination, because that's why I'm saying to you, I want this beautiful home that I have. I want a private jet. I want a trust fund that's endless, right? That's what I want, and I don't want to work. I want to enjoy myself. I want to run radio shows. I want to do that. I want to give people voices, right? They're the things that make my heart sing.
Yeah.
People have forgotten what makes their heart sing.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah,
Mm.
that's great. There's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually think Donna is watching the show. Donna does podcast mantras moment. She'd probably love you on that too. I love this comment from Bill. Once you're in the tribe, you can't set feeling the sense of belonging. Yeah, that's true, Bill. That's. I've always felt that, even if I don't interact with people much, is when you meet up, there's just a closeness.
Yeah.
Men hugging is another. That's a huge thing. There's so I think there's hope in us as we progress.
Well,
I might
there's
go ahead.
something that happens when we join. Like, I know my own energy on
Oh
my
yeah,
own, but I know what my energy is like here with you and with the other people that are listening. It just takes it to a beautiful other level.
yeah, I agree.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree. Saying that though, I might call it a night. I've been working all
Yes.
day. This is
Thank you.
beautiful
Thank you.
conversation with you. Thank you for
Mm.
having me on your radio show.
I did try.
Oh, I'm honored that you asked me. I really am.
Yes.
There's
Yeah. We'll still do it.
Yeah, there's Donna now. I will get her in touch. That's Donna. She this is right up her alley, these sort of conversations. Yeah. And
Yes.
so they're going from there. I wish you
Thank
the best with whatever happens next with this radio station. It sounds great.
Thank
And
you.
it's great to get Australian voices on American just in America. That's
Well,
terrific as well.
they've got 190 outlets that everything goes to. So it's going
Wow.
international. Absolutely.
Wow. That's huge.
Yep.
I
And
wish
I'll be
you the
getting
best.
you on. Don't you worry.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you for your time, Michael. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no worries. No
It's
worries.
been
We're going out
pleasure.
with a song called Q Park. So basically, this really happened one night. This was before I made it with the theatre. I was going past Q Library in Victoria, and I was a night shift driver. And there was always a man there who used to sleep on this bench, and he'd sit up because they made the bench so you couldn't sleep on it. So he'd sit there, sitting up with a blanket over his head, and he'd just sleep sitting up. So one night I took him a camp bed that we had. I went home, g'day, film. Went home, grabbed this camp bed and took it to him and sat with him for a while. And he actually didn't want the camp bed. He said, I can't carry it with me. But what he told me about this night where a car pulled up and parked by itself, parked under a light. And then a dog got out and the dog was just glaring at him. And then he heard a baby cry in the car. And he was going to go over to see what was wrong with it. And but the dog would just growl at him as if say, don't even think of coming near this car. So the dog was protecting the car. And then it turned out the light came on. You could see there was just a young mum inside by herself. She had two kids in the car and they were crying. She was trying to calm them down. And so it really stayed with me for ages. And so I wrote this poem called Q Library Lullaby or something. Anyway, and I was trying to find musos to put music to it, but I could never get it done. And Buzzino, I'm going to be in touch, man. Give me a contact on cafelockdown@gmail.com and I'll have a listen, man. I can't open the links in these lives, Buzz. But if you send it to cafelockdown@gmail.com, I'll look at them there. And anyway, so I wrote this, and then AI comes along, and AI just does it straight away. And so to me, I'm like, well, here I am, and I feel like AI has given me poetical wings. And so, yeah. So this is on the album too, Love It or Hate It, and so it's there. So yeah, I'm quite chuffed that I can't play an instrument. Sold a music album. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, this is life. You just don't know. Just try.
No.
I'm an old man in a bus. Just try anything. And if it
Yes.
scares you, then that's definitely the thing to try. Do
Yes.
something you think you can't do. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. I do know.
Yeah, you're a perfect example of it. I love it. You go to America, being an American radio star. That's awesome. You might be the next Joe Rogan. Who knows? Take care. And I'll put you in touch. Kelly and I'll put you in touch with Donna. She'll love it.
Thank you.
All
Thank you
right.
so
This is so if
Good
you want to
night,
get
everyone.
the album's called Me and the AI. Don't get upset with that, but this is it. And this song is on there. Helen, God bless. Take
Thank
care.
you.
And I wish you the
Thank you,
best.
Mark.
It's gorgeous to meet you. Thank you for an awesome
Yes.
night.
You're
See ya.
welcome. Thank you.
Q Library Car Park Lullaby.
About 10:30, a sedan pulled up and parked beneath a car park slide. A rear door opened, a dog got out, and after sniffing around, it relieved itself. Then it sat near the front door, looked over at me, and it said unequivocally, I don't know who the hell you are, so don't even think of coming near this car. Q library was closed, no, its books were asleep, dreaming alphabetically. But out here I heard a little baby cry, and then I heard another child join in. So I was gonna go over and ask, hey, are you okay? But that dog stood up and he glared at me. I don't know who the hell you are, so don't even think of coming near this car. Then a light flickered on, and there inside a young mom was trying to soothe her kids. But because it was cold or because it was night, I heard them both continue to cry. Then all alone in that lonely car, I heard her sing a lullaby. Then all alone in that lonely car, I heard her singing a lullaby.
Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Daddy's gonna buy you a mockingbird. And if that mockingbird don't sing, then Daddy's gonna buy you a diamond ring. And as I listened to her sing, I pulled my head into my sleeping bag. Amidst the sweat and the stubborn stains, I found my mom and heard her sing. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Daddy's gonna buy you a mockingbird. And if that mockingbird don't sing, then Daddy's gonna buy you a diamond ring.
Then when the morning broke again, I found that they and their car were gone. And I have to say it was very strange for me to sleep this long. But as I packed up my bed and bags, I could still hear her song. I guess like her kids, I must have drifted off. I guess like her kids, I must have drifted off.